Hey, so what's up, guys? My name is Brandon. This is the Ninja 25 YouTube channel, where I've done a couple of, or used to do video reviews, and then I've done some podcasts with friends, and that's what we're doing here today. I have a friend from college, Katy or Kathryn. What would you?
Katie's fine. It's
Cool. Hi,
easier.
hi, Katy. That's excellent. She has a movie blog, and she's a photographer, and I'm a photographer, and we have thoughts about Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yes.
What's up, Katie? How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. It's everything's weird, but we're coming through the end of it. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and we're at least we're not starving for content these days like we were for a bit during all of this mess. Like
Truly a blessing.
I am God, I miss movie theaters.
Oh,
It's the
me
only thing
too.
I used to do outside the house that I like am dying for. It's I can just
I
I
totally understand.
shopping online totally fine with me. My wife hates it, but I'm all in on it. But no, God,
Yeah.
I miss movie theaters.
I am currently in Arizona and we live right next to the Navajo reservation.
Oh, that's cool.
And we all know that Arizona did not handle this pandemic very well.
Oh, it's been like Mad
So,
Max down here. Like it's I'm
yeah,
you're you're not missing anything. It's terrible.
yeah. So, movie theaters have not been in the mix. Not been in the mix. First shot down for me, which is lovely. So
Yeah, I had
hopefully,
mine last weekend, so I'm 3 weeks away.
nice,
My wife gets her second one next Sunday. She's a teacher, so she
nice.
got in first. Um,
Mm, yeah.
so yeah,
So
we're the end's in
the
sight,
light at the end of the tunnel, and then we will get to go see this in IMAX. Hopefully,
indeed, because that's certainly I don't know if that's in my plan. uh,
it's in
it's
my plan. So this is good. We'll have stuff to talk about.
I we'll get that out of the way first. I'm fully in on the idea that it was designed for IMAX. Like the 4x3,
Yes.
the trailer weirded me out. Like I was freaking like just super confused about why would they do this. But like once I sat down and 5 minutes into the movie, I never noticed it again. So
Right.
that's all good. And maybe it's because I have a 60-inch TV downstairs, so um, it's not IMAX, but it's bigger than this
It's
laptop
better
I'm
than
talking to you
not
on.
IMAX.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, but it's uh, Well,
Yeah.
maybe it's a little pretentious, but it didn't bother me at all. Once the movie started, it was not what I was paying attention to.
Right. I think a lot of people at first were kind of stunned, and then um, with the trailer coming out in that 4:3 aspect ratio. But I think that for a lot of people who aren't so familiar with the cinematic world, like you and I might be, that disclaimer on the very top of the stream where it says they've put it in this aspect ratio for Zack Snyder's vision. It's what he wants. I think a lot of people kind of got it at that point and then didn't have so much of a
I mean, and
hard
if
time
those
buying
people
that.
went to see the movie on IMAX, it would have filled the whole screen, and
Oh
they
yeah,
wouldn't
yeah,
notice. So it's
exactly.
because IMAX is actually like it emphasizes height over
Hmm.
width, right? So even
Yes.
like the Dark Knight used IMAX cameras and stuff, but it only went out to 185. It wasn't
Yeah.
full IMAX; it was 16 by 9, so it fills the TV in your house, but not the IMAX screen. Um,
Right, exactly. But I think that, having some kind of knowledge that this was had a purpose to it just puts people more at ease for these things where they're like,
Absolutely.
and not
Um,
used to seeing a little bit of a curtain behind what that process looks like. Because
um,
if they had seen it in IMAX, they wouldn't have known that anything was different.
yeah, but they just wouldn't notice. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's all good.
yeah.
So first of all, I would like to talk for just a couple of minutes on what did we think about the Joss Whedon Frankenstein version of this movie, because, and I say that because I don't think, um, even given the same situation, picking up another director's movie, um,
Mhm.
that we I don't think the Joss Whedon version of this is what Joss Whedon wanted either, but it's a version, and people are going to call it the Joss Whedon version, and
Right.
it's
Yeah.
out there. What do you think about the theatrical version of this movie?
Well, first, I just want to preface this whole situation with
Sure.
I don't feel the need or the desire, frankly, to go into all of the more scandalous stuff going on with Joss Whedon right now. I think the
I
theatrical
don't
cut.
I don't
is the
either. I
theatrical.
think probably both
Yeah.
both people are probably difficult to work with, and there's I hate to say it, but there's some new gross stuff about Joss Whedon. I just don't want to talk about it. Like
Yeah.
it just really sucks. And
I think that's a
yeah,
totally different conversation. That's not
yeah, I
productive.
agree.
We want to talk about.
But we
So
want.
I just
I
want
just
to.
want to talk about the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll clear that out right now. We're not going to go there. So
Might talk to you about that offline.
yeah, we can do that. So theatrical cut. I think. I mean, you put it so well. It's the Frankenstein monster, right? Dr. Frankenstein is Joss Whedon, and the monster is the theatrical cut. It just is what it is. But there is no doubt in my mind that the studio, Warner Brothers, has a hand in that. We know that they went off the rails on the theatrical cut. Zack Snyder was already having a few issues trying to get what he really wanted in the film done and creating a whole vision for, they were going to be Justice League 2, 3. They're going to model this after the Marvel formula. So I think that all of those things together, Zack Snyder's vision, Joss Whedon needing to come in and fix it up, and maybe not even fix it up is the right term, but just finish it. And then Warner Brothers coming in and saying, this is what we want. It's a hodgepodge of mess is what it is. And I think that's totally reflected in the film. You made a great point, Brandon, about, the theatrical cut is probably not even what Joss Whedon wanted. Because, I mean, we know that Joss Whedon's a great director. He gave us the first Avengers movie.
The first Avengers and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And it's, oh, God, I'm going to bite my tongue because there are a lot of things that I want to say, but I'm not going to say them.
But we know that he can do it, right?
And there's some other stuff has come out, like Warner Brothers required it to be under 2 hours long, and so they gave a lot of notes and put on a lot of stupid rules on him too. And it's just, I mean, there are things about the movie that I enjoy, but overall, it's just a big crash fire.
And you can really, I mean, it's kind of unfair to say that you can really tell after watching Zack Snyder's Justice League, because, in a normal situation, you wouldn't have a comparison. And
that is the thing that is so, before you continue, it's so weird about this, is we've now seen the same movie twice, and it's not like we have the theatrical cut and the director's cut, and okay, they put another 30 minutes back into the movie for the fans. It's like, it's not that at all. It's two completely different versions of the same movie, and we've never, at least certainly not in a recent movie. It's a weird thing. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Please continue.
No, you didn't interrupt. No, and that's completely it. This is such a unique cinematic moment, in cinema history. We have so many, different little instances in the short history of cinema, starting in 1896, that kind of opened up how we interpret movies today. So, we have United Artists forming way back when. That was like a one-day thing when they formed, and then that divulged into what we know it to be today. And I think that the case of Justice League is going to be something that film scholars and film historians and
you could teach a whole semester about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if not just this movie, then the Zack Snyder DC movie universe. Like,
I was actually talking to my brother exactly about that, and I said, you know what, I would love to write the chapter in the cinema history book about the case study of DC and Justice League. It's really kind of a moment, and I think that's why people are so enamored by it, and why we want to make comparisons between the two, because we want to dissect it. It's like a soap opera in some ways. And so I think that Joss Whedon made some bad choices in the theatrical cut. That's undeniable. Is it a horrible film? Yes and no.
It's a totally watchable superhero movie. And yes. I would not say that about even BVS. I can't and
BVS is Zack Snyder recently said something to the effect of, maybe fans weren't ready for this kind of Batman and this team up at this moment when it was
Batman
released.
is
And I
not the
totally agree with
problem I have with the Zack Snyder movies. Um,
that. Oh no, what's your problem? Oh no.
uh,
Don't say Superman.
oh God, we'll get to it. But
Okay.
Zack Snyder does not understand Superman. He doesn't. The first hour of Man of Steel is the setup for what could have been masterful cinema, and then it all just
Yes.
gets smashed away for the next 90 minutes, and it never
Yes, I will agree with
it
that.
never recovers. And one shining thing that I will say about the Joss Whedon theatrical version is upper lip notwithstanding, because
Oh,
that's just a meme at this point. But
oh, it's so bad.
they got Superman right for the first time
Mhm.
in 3 movies.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
it's
I
there's a lot of good stuff in Man of Steel. BVS doesn't get Superman at all, but the theatrical cut, like Henry Cavill is so charming. It's like
yeah,
when
I
you just
love
let
him.
him play Superman, it's wonderful, and
If he didn't have to deal with so many, like existential crises, like I mean, it's part of the superhero lore, right? But like, if it wasn't all doom
it's
and
just all
gloom,
doom and grimdark and gloomy, and it's just like,
yeah.
and he okay,
And we know that
Superman
that's not what
saves
all the
people in
yes,
the theatrical
but
version of Justice League, and that is
yes,
not something that he does in any of the other movies.
right. I mean, he does a little bit of that. They set him up that way in the beginning of Batman versus Superman. And then, of course, Justice League is just, no pun intended, Justice League is just about the Justice League. So there's not
Yeah,
really a lot of
um,
character
and it's oh
building.
god, we could have another whole podcast about BVS, but like
Oh, yeah.
there the nothing with Superman in any of the movies is earned. Like it's and there you have these people that are worshiping him like he's the greatest thing that ever happened, but you
Mhm.
didn't. They never showed anything to make people believe that.
I think
All that
that,
happened in Man of Steel, all that as far as the major public understands of Superman from the leftovers of Man of Steel is he destroyed Metropolis. So why are people
yeah, it's a
worshiping
little
him?
unfortunate.
Because like hundreds, if not thousands, of people are dead because
Yeah,
of
not a really good
his
PR
confrontation with
move.
Zod. Anyway, we're here to talk about Justice League, but
Right, right. But that said, I think that Henry Cavill is a wonderful actor to play Superman.
yes, the casting has never been the problem.
Right.
As in
Yeah.
any of these movies, the casting is top of the line. Like, and it's
I
even
think
if it's a
the
yeah,
vision was just a
the
little
vision is
off.
flawed from the jump, and it's I think it Batman. There's a lot of things about Batman that really work here.
Yes.
As Zack Snyder never understood Superman. Um,
And I think that there is also a camp though that is a little uncomfortable with the Ben Affleck Superman just because, you know, as fans, we were so indoctrinated with the Christopher Nolan
oh yeah,
films for a long time, which also bleeds into the Justice League part. But what's important to, I think, point out there is that Christopher Nolan's a producer on these films. He's a producer on Man of Steel, producer on Batman
I know
vs
he is on
Superman.
Man. Is he still listed as an EP on the later movies? I know he was on
Yes,
Man of
all of
Steel,
them.
and he gave
Yes. I'm not
a
sure
lot
about
of input
Suicide
on the
Squad.
story for Man of Steel for sure.
Yes, I'm not sure about Suicide Squad, but at least the three core movies, right? Uh, Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, and Justice League. Christopher Nolan is a executive producer on. So I think that's kind of like a stamp of approval, some kind of at least, meta theatrical kind of real world continuation and approval of that story that Christopher Nolan set up with his Dark Knight trilogy. So, there's competing worlds here, which I think is the main problem with the theatrical cut.
Yes.
There's a DC story that was tried to be made into a Marvel plot. There's a difference between
Yes,
story and
it
plot,
is.
but that's really technical. But
And we'll probably go mention it a little bit later, but you wrote a blog post a while back, and you kind of mentioned
right,
that, or maybe I've seen you talk about it on social media. But yeah, like
right,
they're partway through developing this Zack Snyder universe. They say, "Hey, look at what Marvel's doing," because
yes,
and they knew that this was, we're talking about 2015, 2016, like probably before BVS even came out. They knew that the Marvel movies were going to be the biggest thing on the planet. Like,
so here's
and Marvel knew it too, but DC, like, we want some
yes,
of that, because when we gotta, and we have to get there before they do, and that's why this universe is such a fucking disaster, because they were trying to beat
yes,
beat
absolutely.
Marvel to Avengers Infinity War, and
And
it was just
what
never
I
gonna happen.
what I think about this though is that I don't think that Zack Snyder ever wanted to try and beat Marvel. I do
I don't
not
I
think
don't
that
think he
was.
did either, and
No.
that's all coming from the studio.
Yes, that is all coming from Warner Brothers. And so bringing in Joss Whedon to do the theatrical cut of Zack Snyder's Justice League was, I think it was just the wrong move. I think that maybe, the Christopher Nolan movies, like I just said, are so iconic, but I think they definitely would have done a better job bringing in Christopher Nolan as like a co-director on the film, and just have them both listed. And have Christopher Nolan finish it, because that would have been much closer story, plot, and visual wise to what Zack Snyder was trying to do, rather than bringing in Joss Whedon, who catapulted the Avengers brand. Right, he directed the first Avengers movie, among other things, but we'll focus on the
Right,
superheroes.
for
So
sure.
bringing Joss Whedon to do that was just like hey, we're gonna slap a Marvel touch on here and you're gonna like it. And it does not work. And I'll tell you
I
why.
I, th- the, I think the Marvel formula could work with
Oh yeah,
DC characters, but
but
it does
just with
not work
different
with the
directors.
groundwork they laid out in Man of Steel. Like,
Yes,
it's, yeah.
exactly.
Um,
Exactly. You can't try and copy something that you've already established. So the first Iron Man movie came out in 2008.
I just
So
graduated high school.
yeah. So like we were already doing this way back in the 2000s. Marvel was already on it. And before that, I believe, I don't remember if it's right before or right after Iron Man that the Hulk movie with Edward Norton came out. But
It was the same
that's still
summer.
in the lore. But anyway, so Iron Man,
I don't know.
iconic, came out in
The Abomination's going to be in the She-Hulk series with Tim Roth, and it's going to
right.
be weird.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot to talk about there for sure, especially with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier right now. Anyway, there's just so much to talk about
Oh yeah.
now that we have fodder after a whole year of nothing. So much to talk about. Anyway, so Man of Steel didn't come out until 2013. So 2008 to 2013 was a long time between setting up franchises, especially competing for franchises. So, and Avengers came out in 2011. So Joss Whedon
2012.
was already
2012.
2012,
Yeah,
right? So
Iron Man came out right after I finished high school, and then Avengers came out right as I was
that
finishing
sounds
college.
right. Yeah. Yes. So we've have an established, brand here, and then DC comes up. I really don't think that Zack Snyder was trying to do anything like that. And then I think with Man of Steel, they had success, but not how the studio wanted it. The studio wanted numbers to compete.
It didn't make $1 billion, but it was successful, like by basic
right.
Hollywood standards, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a hit. It was definitely not a box office bomb, but we are in this weird time of, and this is why I want to write a whole history chapter on this for a textbook or something, because we have DC coming in here and saying we have successful movies, but this is this new superhero era. We have a whole machine going on here. So we're going to try and do that. They couldn't be satisfied with their piece of the pie, I feel like. And so that all came to a head with the entire Justice League saga issue going on at the studio. So in some ways, I think the restore the Snyder Cut, release the Snyder Cut movement may have solidified DC's spot in this whole historical moment of superhero movies and the movie machine in a way that Warner Brothers did not want, but now they will try and, really promote.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of the things that they do is like a lot of the CW shows and stuff are fantastic.
Yeah. I haven't actually seen any of them.
Side note, they're
I've heard they're wonderful.
Yeah, it's just I'm very excited to be able to say I'm excited about something with Superman in it these days, and it wasn't the Snyder Cut. It's the Superman and Lois show that's on the CW right now. It's fantastic.
I think I'm just maybe too much of a Henry Cavill Superman stan because I just think he does it so well.
He does. I
don't know.
When they let him breathe and they let him play Superman, he is wonderful.
See, if they let him have the creative space in Superman like they do let him have as the Witcher, it would be a totally different thing. He would just be like.
I mean, there's a reason that people, like a lot of people, beg for Man of Steel 2, and it's because they want more Henry Cavill. Because he doesn't deserve the fans don't deserve him. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, I don't think so. I think he's too good for the fans, which is going to be controversial.
Now that we've gone down this hole, so the cursory thoughts after sitting through 4 hours of the Snyder Cut. What do we think, Katie?
I think it's wonderful. I think it has its own things. I don't think it has to be a perfect movie. But I think it's.
But before I I will say it did not have to be a perfect movie. No movie has to be perfect to be good, to be enjoyable.
Exactly.
But, feel free to continue.
Exactly. No, that's exactly what I was saying, and I think that's where some fans have gotten caught up. They're trying to nitpick for things, and I've heard that it's too long, it ends too many times. It's a 4-hour movie. It can end as many times as it wants to,
I'm a big Lord of the Rings guy. Like once a year, it takes me a whole weekend and I watch the 3 movies. You know what I mean? So it's the length isn't an issue, and I think they smartly broke it up into the 6 parts or whatever. So it's you can sit and watch it like a miniseries. Which probably helps the experience out quite a bit. Like I watched it over 2 days. I didn't sit down and watch it through.
And it also I don't think everybody would pick up on this, but I was like, are we gonna get a little Tarantino in here with all the different parts? I was like, let's not go down that hole. It didn't. It was great. I think it just works to break it up, especially knowing that they were going to release it in 4 episodes. So I think that leans into it. And knowing it was going to streaming first, I think it works. I am kind of wondering if they're going to leave in those title cards for the different parts.
Maybe it'll probably release with an intermission.
It will. Zack Snyder has said that. Yeah.
I think it probably would. I don't know. Who knows at this point? But
I think they're just kind of like, let's just get it out there.
I also don't think if nothing had changed and I can't even believe what happened with Zack Snyder's daughter. It's awful. But like if he was allowed to finish the movie and it came out when it was supposed to, there's no way this is the version we would have seen.
No, absolutely not.
It would have been. It probably would have been 3 hours. Like Avengers did 3 hours and got away with it. So, but there's a lot of stuff here that we also wouldn't have gotten.
And that's a really important thing to keep in mind. And you and I, we are movie people, so we can pick up on these things. So when I was watching through, I was like, well, Zack would cut this whole little Icelandic chant song with Aquaman. That part rubs me the wrong way. Just the tone and the pacing isn't right. And I think Zack Snyder knows this, so he would cut it, And, there's just a few other things that I'm just kind of like, that didn't really hit right. Or, as a woman, I'm picking up on the things.
There are a lot of things that don't hit right. Please. I want to hear everything you want to say about being a woman and watching superhero movies.
Well, I think that Zack Snyder's treatment of women in this film is actually and obviously people of color, but I'm not a person of color, so I'm just not going to speak to that. But as a woman, you know, there are so many differences between how the character of Diana Prince, at least, is treated in the theatrical version and Zack Snyder's version.
That I agree with.
Cuts notwithstanding, you know, like I would still say the same thing if the Snyder cut were 3 hours. I absolutely would, because Joss Whedon put in so many weird tropes in the theatrical cut, you know, like Barry Allen falling on her chest, and all these like weird butt shots. Jokes.
Yeah.
And I believe that the Amazons were treated differently between, I don't know if it's the 2 cuts or the.
I went back and watched a few. I didn't rewatch the Whedon cut, but I watched a few things in there. Mm-hmm. The Amazons are the aggressors when the boom tube comes down in the Snyder cuts, but mm-hmm. in the Whedon cuts they wait until Steppenwolf mm-hmm. really shows up and they get attacked by the parademons, and they wait for the order. But no, it's just like as soon as shit starts to go down, like they're really proactive, which is better.
Yeah.
You know, and you're certainly in a better position to speak to some of this more than I do, but it's like you're absolutely right about Gal Gadot is hot jokes, and it's inexcusable these days.
So
but like, annoying. I also think that like
yeah, she is, but you don't need to tell me that because I know. That's what Wonder Woman is.
Why are the Amazons wearing bikini tops? Why is all of their midriff exposed? And that was the thing that originated with Zack Snyder.
Yes, it was.
You know, and
honestly,
it's completely different than it is in the Wonder Woman movies.
Yeah.
Like so, and it's because it's directed by a man, and it's in the first Wonder Woman movie, their armor it's really practical, and it covers mm-hmm. them shoulder to knee like it should.
It's battle armor.
Yeah, and it's you know, and it's powerful and it's still sexy, but they're not fucking like you just take an arrow to the stomach and you bleed out. Like it's really impractical, and it's because it was designed by men, and it's not okay. Like
yes, exactly. It doesn't make any sense. So that goes for both cuts of the film. You know, I'm like, but honestly though, I know that for some women that's going to be a big issue. You know, for me, it isn't as much. Besides the practicality point.
No, I mean, and there's nothing wrong with if the women want to wear bikini tops out in the day, that's fine. That's I'm not whatever.
No, I know.
They're not defending the world from monster. You know what I mean? But
it is a very like subconscious.
They're supposed to be battle ready, and it doesn't make sense.
Exactly. It is definitely undeniably a difference between a woman directed film and a male directed film. Absolutely. But, you know, I'm not outraged at every single thing that comes across the screen because honestly, I don't even catch some of it myself.
Right. No, that's fair.
You know,
and overall, I think that scene is better. It's probably better paced in the Joss Whedon one because it's not quite so long, but overall, it's a better, like that chapter of that part of the movie is better, much better overall in the Zack Snyder one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this might come from my theater background, but I love a slow burn and a plot. So I really appreciate the length. I
appreciate it too. Right. I think that a lot of the things in the Snyder cut should have been in their own movies. Yes. There's a lot of material with Barry and with Cyborg that is fantastic that should have been in another movie because it has no business. They needed
to establish those characters.
Yeah, it has no business taking up screen time in the team-up movie.
Like the entire part with Barry Allen saving, what's her name? Iris West. Yeah. Yes. The entire part of him saving Iris, Cyborg's entire part. Well, it's so cool. I love it of him exploring his powers and his technology. Yeah, and filling up our bank account, you know, all of those things.
Committing financial fraud, you know.
Yeah, you know, just manipulating the stock market on his lunch break, you know. But those things needed to be in a separate movie. In a 4-hour Snyder cut, it doesn't bother me at all. If it was 3 hours and we were going to see this in IMAX and it was the only cut of the film, they needed to establish the characters beforehand. Absolutely. So my main takeaway from the Snyder Cut is that I really enjoy it. I love a slow burn. There are things that I would cut. Absolutely. There are things that I am iffy on, some scenes, some pacings. I'm not going to complain about the Amazons in this movie because I have seen the Joss Whedon cut of the film. So I really appreciate, the detail that they put into the Amazonian sequence of the film. And because Zack had to wrap it up this time around, it feels a little more, I don't know, I don't want to say Shakespearean because that's a whole other bag of worms, but there is some very melodramatic, almost like 5-act sequence kind of tension building here, and then
yes, I'd agree with that completely.
Yeah, so I think that the scale and the scope of this film is absolutely magnificent. The lore and the mythology and the world building that had to be done is, there are some of it's questionable.
There are some choices here, and I do read. I am a comic book fan, but I'm a movie guy first, and there are questionable choices here, in my opinion. Like you don't.
I just think that the way it's been presented in the film itself is cohesive for the film.
It is a singular vision. It feels like one person made the movie. Yes. And I'm always, ultimately, whether I like the movie or not, I'm always on the side of the filmmaker. And I'm glad they got to make the movie they wanted to. I'm glad Zack got to make the movie he wanted to make.
For those reasons, I really like it. I think it's done well. I think that Zack Snyder knew exactly what he wanted to do, and I could watch it again and again. I really could. But the whole,
I'm probably watching in chunks.
Yeah, and I want to hear what you think, of course. So, the women in the film is my big takeaway, but it's not because of the Amazonians, it's because of Lois Lane. And I was originally griping on this pretty hard right after I watched the Snyder Cut for the first time. I'm like, they got to use Lois more. Like
Lois and Superman, especially Lois, really got the shaft here.
Yes, and so not minimal. Just in the theatrical cut, in the Snyder Cut, there is so much more.
In the Snyder Cut, or in the theatrical version, Batman knows what's going on all the time, and he knows Lois is their secret weapon. And when they wake up Superman, and he know, all right, if this goes badly, I can bring out Lois, and everything will be okay.
I'm going to send Alfred to get Lois.
Yeah, and it was a whole. And in the Snyder Cut, she's just like getting groceries. Like she just happens to be there and to see something happening, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole plot of.
It's just a whole it's just a very weak choice, whereas it's characters being proactive versus coincidence, and coincidence is never good storytelling. It's always a problem.
Yes. Because there is this whole miniature, very loose subplot of her having to grieve and move on. Like, I get it. Okay, I get it. I get that she's sad. But there's so much more to her.
Rightfully so. There's nothing. That's fine. Yeah.
Feel your grief. That's great. And I think that maybe that was something that they didn't want to explore too much in the pandemic era. I can understand that if they left a few things on the cutting room floor, even for the Snyder Cut, in terms of Lois's grief surrounding Clark's death. I totally get that for these times, but Lois is so capable and smart. And Man of Steel, she uncovered his identity. She can get stuff done.
Yes.
So I would have liked to see.
I love Amy Adams, and I loved her as Lois, and man, it's.
She just couldn't do so much more. And so, I was griping on it pretty hard when the Snyder Cut was released. I was like, they got to do more with Lois. This is a joke. I rewatched the theatrical cut, and I was like, this is even more of a joke. I'm not okay with either of them. So that is the thing that really irks me about this film overall. That some of the Amazonian stuff, not so much as Lois. Some of the music choices, both
the music,
diegetic and
there
non-diegetic.
are some music choices in here.
Aren't there? So those are the things mainly that I, have a little bit of issue with. But like we said before, I don't expect a perfect film. And I think people are kind of leaning into expecting a perfect film. And that kind of inhibits people from being able to enjoy what they
that was certainly an unfair expectation from the jump. Like that was,
oh yeah.
I didn't,
yes.
I mean, going in knowing that it's fundamentally the same movie, it's hitting all the same beats as the other one. So it's
yes, it does. And I think that's to Joss Whedon's credit, they have the same trajectory, but someone's dark side. They added in some team tension, which I didn't think was necessary, but they're still hitting the beats of, we have this job to do, now we have this job to do, now we got to team up, and now we got to bring back Superman. And, it hits the same things, just in different ways. There's a whole scene in the theatrical cut where Bruce is like, where were you? And it just ruins the entire Wonder Woman. I mean, I don't know if you could ruin Wonder Woman 1984 anymore, but that whole part does. Ruins the lore.
Where were you?
What Patty Jenkins was trying to do. But I like the Snyder cut. It's not perfect, but I could rewatch it, for a long time. I think it has incredible rewatch potential. And I think that in terms of cinema history and it's
such a fascinating superhero genre, the lead up to this is crazy.
Yeah. But so what are your favorite parts of the Snyder cut? What did you not like about it? How do you think that it compares to the theatrical release?
There, like I said, I love a lot of the material with Barry and with Cyborg, with Victor.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I can get more Joe Morton in my life, I'm always here for it. So it's all good stuff. I think it belongs in another movie. But I think it's great. And I do, overall, I really think that the action here mostly works better. I have some gripes like here or there, like when Diana's falling and reaching for her sword. In the theatrical cut, Barry sees it and he runs up and he boops her the sword, and then he breaks his ankle, right? He hurts himself. But then in the theatrical cut, she grabs a sword, she kills a parademon, she lands on her feet. The same setup happens in the Snyder cuts, but she falls anyway, and he still breaks his leg. So they're cool heroic moments with no payoff.
But what did it do?
Yeah, it accomplished nothing except injuring taking Flash out of the scenario. And it's a questionable choice. Like I think having Darkseid get wrecked by the old gods in the first act is a terrible choice.
Really, I think it's an odd
they should
choice.
Have left it with. They should have left that scene with Steppenwolf, and apparently this was a. Joss Whedon made the change and changed it to Steppenwolf. But he's the big bad, and it's like, or Darkseid is, I'm sorry, and people, a lot of viewers aren't going to get that this is Darkseid 3,000 years ago, and he's not the Darkseid of today. Like it's not going to. There's nothing in the movie to justify that.
Why Darkseid would be there?
Yeah, just he's a conqueror, but he's.
But he has people who does that for him.
Yes,
that are on the payroll.
And he shows up and he is winning, but ultimately gets wrecked when Zeus and Ares join the fight. So it's just always it's a weird choice to see the villain that's supposed to be this universe-ending person get wrecked in the first third of the movie.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a weird choice, and I think if it were Steppenwolf, it would have given more context to, because Steppenwolf has disgraced himself, and they don't very well explain why.
I think that would be much more. The payoff would be so much better, getting to see Steppenwolf utterly fail during the sequence.
Yeah, and then a lot of the reason that he's collecting these worlds for Darkseid is to prove that he's still worthy to be a follower. So it's.
I think the payoff of him collecting the boxes. And then eventually, speaking with Darkseid later in the film before the climax, I think that payoff would be much better if they had left Steppenwolf as the villain in the Old Gods sequence, and then built up Darkseid. I think that is a very valid takeaway from the
and I have no issue with like the cliffhanger or whatever. Like, this was supposed to be part one of a two-part. It was supposed to be Infinity War and Endgame on the Justice League side.
Yes.
And then when we found out this was 4 hours, we're going to see the whole story, and that's not the case. This is still just part one of a two-part movie that we're never going to see.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's Darkseid is a fascinating character if you get time to spend with him. That's my comic book nerd coming out. But no, like and see the Desaad is in there. And when they're
Granny Goodness.
Yes, I'm glad you know Granny. She's the torturer, and she's this like unassuming old lady, but she tortures people, and it's horrifying.
I watch a lot of YouTube, Brandon.
And like the way that he communicates with them, where it's like kind of a hologram, but it's like dripping, and it looks so fucking cool.
Yeah,
like yeah.
For that alone, even those effects, I think that would build up the Darkseid character more, and the Desaad character more, having not seen them in the Old God sequence. So I think that was a really interesting, effective choice on Joss Whedon's part of making the villain in that sequence Steppenwolf. For the context of Zack Snyder had to wrap it up, I can understand why Darkseid was in there, but I definitely agree with you here.
I don't know that it would have changed anything if it were Steppenwolf instead of Darkseid in that first scene.
Yeah, exactly.
It gives more context as to why Steppenwolf is trying to prove himself. Anyway, this is
I think it's a little bit better storytelling. I think the beats are different, and that the beats keeping it with Steppenwolf are.
It makes it seem like Darkseid isn't the threat that he should feel like he is.
Yes. I agree. All right. What else? What else you got?
What else? Superman is, for the third Zack Snyder movie, completely wasted. Wasted
so
in this movie, and he just.
Yeah.
In the theatrical version, he saves people. Like, okay, we probably don't when the world is falling down, we may or may not need a Joss Whedon joke about the Flash can save one person at a time and Superman can save hundreds. But the fact that, like, Superman's job is, he's not the leader, and to be fair, he's not the leader in the movie either, but he is supposed to get people out because nobody else can do that.
Right.
He is fast enough and strong enough that he can withstand the world falling down around him, and some of the other heroes cannot do that.
The muscle of the group, and that's what he's there for.
But this, yes and no, because Superman is wasted when all he does is punch things.
Right. There's an emotional need behind the character to fulfill the use of him being, a pair of biceps.
And he in the theatrical version, Lois is there on purpose. It's not. She didn't see a commotion and say, "Oh shit, my milk's going to get cold, but I got to see what's going on over there."
Right.
Or maybe she got groceries in the Martian Manhunter scene. I don't know. But she was like, it didn't feel like it was coincidental.
Yeah. So in the
I'm
Snyder
actually surprised at how much of the Superman resurrection scene is actually in this version. How much of it matches the other, but like Lois she's there coincidentally, and it's just a very weak choice. Whereas in the other one, it was a really proactive choice, in my opinion.
Well, I think the way that they did it in the theatrical cut was cheap. I think it was a cop out. You can't just have,
and that's fair.
Bruce Wayne. Can't have him just say, "Hey, I think I want to pull in Lois Lane on this one," and just have her waiting in a car there. They're going to be taking off that scene. Like
that, I mean, and okay, that's a fair point. But I like that in that one, in that version, Batman is being proactive. Yeah,
right.
And Batman he should always be a step ahead of everyone. And that was not the case in this movie. And even when the Flash says, "Okay, if I run really fast, sometimes things get weird with time," and Bruce Wayne is like, "All right, go ahead and okay, just do it. I don't care, just do it." And that is not a Batman okay, just tell me what happens with time.
It's what are the implications of this?
Yeah. There's something here that we should let's unpack this a little bit. And they're pressed for time, to be fair, but it's
Well, I can remember watching. So when I rewatched the Whedon theatrical release recently, and when that part came up, I distinctly remembered watching it in the theater and saying to myself, or thinking, like, I really like that aspect of even suggesting that Bruce Wayne is still looking out for Lois, and that he thought about her and he's thought this through.
Okay,
And
I'm
there's
approach
some
on
kind of
that.
connection there. Go for it.
Do you think Lois is pregnant with Bruce's baby?
Bruce's baby?
Yes.
No.
That's the big theory online. Because we don't know how long Superman's been gone.
I was trying to research that, and I was like, what is the timeline here? That's what I needed from both cuts really, but especially the Snyder cut. If he's going to throw in this plot hole of, what is it, John Kent, I think, from the comics, their child. I think his name is John.
Jonathan. He names it after Jonathan Kent. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So
Superman and Lois, they're twins. Jonathan and then Jordan Kent, who's named after Jor-El. But you should watch Superman and Lois. It's fantastic.
Okay. So, I was trying to find out what this timeline was. That's my thing in the Snyder cut, is like, if you're gonna throw in a Lois is pregnant timeline, you gotta get, or storyline, you gotta give me a timeline of these events.
Yeah. And if this is
I was a little confused.
BBS came out in March 2016, and this came out a year and a half after that. So if this is saying it happens a year later, then something doesn't match.
I'm like, because Lois apparently, in the theatrical release, she's back at work. And it's less clear in the Snyder cut. She's at home mourning. So I don't think that I've never lost a spouse. I don't know if I would be mourning at home for a whole year and a half and not going to work. Just because that's it, this pandemic has shown us that life absolutely has to move on. So, just in terms of like the timeline of practicality of Lois Lane here, I don't know that that's what it is. So I really need a Zack Snyder to say, hey, this is maybe
we need some more information. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm assuming that steamy scene in Batman versus Superman is when she could have gotten pregnant. So how long after this are we talking? We've got maybe a week of events, maybe, in Batman versus Superman. How long after this are we talking?
I mean, it has to be months at minimum. Like, it's not a
minimum. Because women can find out that they're pregnant until month 2 or 3. You can't find out just like that. There has to be a little bit of time.
Maybe it's different when they're Kryptonian babies.
Maybe. Who knows?
Who knows? Things are weird. I mean, I guess a lot of the things I have are nitpick.
It's okay to be nitpicky.
Overall, the movie,
but I don't think
the vision has never worked for me.
Right.
And it is not the Justice League that I wanted to see on screen. And it's the best version of the Justice League that we've gotten is this one in my background image from the cartoon that came out in 2001. You know what I mean? So it's
I think that
that's part of the reason I wanted to talk to you, because I come with a lot of baggage as a fan. Before any of the movies, I was a fan of the Justice League, or a fan of a lot of these characters. I'm actually, to be honest, Barry Allen isn't my favorite. Flash, but it is what it is. I really like Ezra Miller. It has nothing to do with him. That's just my baggage. But there's just a lot of weird choices here that I don't get. Okay, Superman comes out. It's like he's realized who he is. The first thing we've seen dozens of times in the Snyderverse and in any other version of Superman, he can just fly up into the atmosphere and listen for bad things that are happening in the world. The first thing that he does is go to Bruce's house. Be like, "Hey, Al, what's going on?"
I know. I thought of that too.
Fixing the transmission here,
Hey, you must be over it.
There's no way Superman could have just known that they're fighting this battle. And then when Superman gets there, all he does, he's just the muscle.
Yeah.
He just all he does is beat the shit out of Steppenwolf, which he does very well because he's Superman. But
because that's what he's there for.
Yeah, it's when if
and they're not going to add in the emotion and the context of his.
He gets so little screen time in this movie. He comes in 3 hours into a 4-hour movie.
I know.
It's absurd. It doesn't,
I,
and I love Superman so much, and Zack Snyder just doesn't understand Superman. Um, he
I,
also go ahead, please.
I just, I know movies. That's what I know. So I came in.
He's Deus Ex Machina. He's the thing. Like none of us can do this. So this thing comes up that is
Yes.
invincible and wins for us, and it's
Yes. So,
but he
I come
also
in.
go ahead, please.
Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
He Zack Snyder has this weird thing where even though he shows us that Superman's invincible, he keeps showing us that Superman is not invincible. Like he when he survives a nuclear bomb in BVS and like he's like a zombie for a second. Like he looks like he's like all dried up and gross. And then
Mm-hmm.
in this movie, when they fail to break up the Unity, the whole Justice League gets eviscerated. They
Mm-hmm.
go through a wood chipper, including
Mm-hmm.
Superman. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
so is he invincible or is he not invincible? You haven't.
I think that was something that they tried to start establishing even way back in Man of Steel. Of
And
there's
I
this
and
human
I'm
side of the
totally okay with Superman
vulnerability.
having limits.
Yeah,
But you
I
show
just
us
don't
that,
think they were
yeah.
explored. Yeah, I think that if they really wanted to talk about limitations on superheroes, they needed more screen time. That's what it is. Even for not just the Snyder Cut. I mean, I definitely think they should have brought Superman in an hour earlier to be able to establish,
I
his
agree.
character so that he can come in and punch things around, you know. So, but being a movie person, I don't have as much context for the comics as people who come in
And that's
to the
fine.
film.
And to be
Right.
like, and you're more of a movie person than most, I would say. But like most
Mm-hmm.
of the people that are going to watch these movies, like their context for Superman is the old
Is
movies
the
from the
idea.
'70s or Michael Keaton's Batman or The Dark Knight. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
they're not comic book readers. They know they've seen a
Mm-hmm.
movie. They know because they've seen a movie about them before. Um,
Yeah. And
and
they have an
that's where most people are
idea,
coming to this.
right? Like even the symbol is a symbol in our culture, right?
True.
We
I got it right here.
know exactly, and we know what it means. So even kids coming in who weren't, watching all these other iterations,
And
know
I
who these
would not
are
want.
characters.
I'm not one to say that children shouldn't watch mature movies or anything like that. Like I was
Mhm.
raised watching everything, but as you know, I'm not going to make decisions for parents. But I wouldn't want
Right.
this to be my kid's first
No,
exposure to Superman because
no.
this is not my Superman. My Superman is Christopher Reeve and Tom Welling.
The thing
It's
is
like
that,
Smallville is the best live action version of Superman that'll probably ever come in my lifetime. And they keep showing me that it's never going to get
yeah,
better than Smallville.
I think that this version of Superman, Henry Cavill Superman, I think maybe in the last part of Man of Steel, that's like quintessential. Like kids need a definition of Superman, show them some of those scenes.
And when they let him play the character, he's so charming. I love Henry
Yeah,
Cavill so much, but it's like, and then all he does is it's in this movie is tear Steppenwolf apart, and that's
exactly.
not he's
This is not a Superman movie. It's not,
um.
which is fine. It's not supposed to be, but he's just not
Who would you say
utilized
if you had
as
to
a
pick
part of the league. He's utilized as Superman,
if you had to
which
pick a
is
main
a problem.
character of this? Who would you say in the theatrical version? It's Batman.
I would still say Batman.
You would still say, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I
We get a lot
think
more Diana stuff too here.
we do, but I actually wasn't going to say Diana. I was
Or
going to say Cyborg
Cyborg, right,
because
yeah. That would probably be my vote.
Cyborg's story in the Snyder Cut literally holds the whole thing together.
It's fantastic. It should have been in another movie.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. I think I would still say Batman because he's the leader, right? He is the one that's putting this whole thing together. But for story's sake, as a film person, Cyborg is the main character, but it's not presented that way just because
Right.
we know who Ben Affleck is. We know who Batman is. That's already been established. So it's Batman. And secondary, I would say Cyborg. But Barry Allen, The Flash, Diana Prince, Wonder Woman, and Clark Kent, Superman are periphery characters here.
I'd agree. And there one last. I don't know how much time you have, but there's one last beat I want to say.
Yeah, I've got time.
Okay, yeah. There's a lot. We talked about early on. We talked about Wonder Woman. I want to come back around to that because there's a lot of good stuff with Diana in this. She's a lot more proactive of a character in this version, which is great. And she's not sexualized like she is in the other version.
She's sexualized, but she's not a sex symbol.
Fair. Yeah, that's fair. And I apologize for minimizing it, but it's
definitely different.
Walk the line, yeah, because this is a Wonder Woman that isn't afraid to get her hands dirty, which is fine. Like if she is in, there are times of desperation, then Wonder Woman does what has to be done. When Superman often won't. He's a character that will choose not to make, he will not make the violent play if he can avoid it.
Diana has to. She will drive a sword through somebody.
There's a moment in Diana's first scene in this movie with a little girl who says, "Can I be like you when I grow up?" And that movie should be tear jerking. And it's that moment, and it just. I want to hear your thoughts because in my opinion, it doesn't work because you just saw her evaporate Roose Bolton. Like that dude is a smear. He just exploded. Okay, and she just murdered 7 people. Okay, so
it's interesting,
and it's I want to be a superhero. Like, great, that's and it's just undermined by.
I want to destroy some shit. That's what that girl's saying. This is really interesting to me because I do not think that part of that scene works with the kid, but for a totally different reason. I had not thought about this whole aspect of she just witnessed Wonder Woman eviscerating these people. I don't like it because there's this whole thing of Diana having to talk to the kids. She calls them princess. Are you okay? Good. Are you okay? Good. She says it 3 times, too much. And then she's like, are you okay, princess? This is not a fucking Disney movie. I don't need my hero, my female hero, to, I don't know, play Disneyland for these kids. To be fair, I used to work at Disneyland, so I had to do that. Yeah. And it's just, it doesn't work here. And I think there is something so demeaning about having to put a woman into the place of the peacemaker and I just have issues with her using the word princess. It does not work for me. And then this kid comes in and says, I want to be just like you. And for me, it's making some weird association between Diana as a princess, like she kind of is, in the mythology of it. But in this world that we are working in, I do not need this woman to be a princess. I need this woman to be a warrior. So even just adding that word in there with the context of speaking to children bothers me. It deeply bothers me. It's just so corny.
That's totally fair, and I get it. And I grew up a little boy, so it's not. It doesn't. I didn't pick up on it in the same way that you did, and that's fascinating to me. So it's
which is why I thought it was so interesting because I was like, I hadn't even thought about the part that this kid just murdered these people.
Yeah,
that's what I
mean, they were terrorists, and they were here to do terrible things.
Right. She still murdered them in front of these kids. If I was that girl, I'd be terrified. I would be like, I want nothing to do with this. Get me out of here.
It is the idea of that interaction is heart-wrenching, and it should be you should be weeping tears of joy afterwards, and it's undermined by everything that happened in the 3 minutes prior. It doesn't work. And there are a lot of choices like that.
I think that if they had,
it's just baffling to me.
I think that if they had put Diana into more of a crisis management mindset Instead of like are you okay? Let me pat you on the head, say some comforting words. Like, sure, like, I'm sure that these things are all
And that would fit more with the
applicable.
the version of Diana that
Right.
we see here. Like, and there's
Yeah. Like, I
I
need
keep
Diana
harping on
being like,
Superman.
right. I need Diana saying, I need triage, I need med, I need,
Yeah.
Emergency, like, and not her saying, are you okay, princess? I don't need that. I think it totally doesn't work. And so if we had Diana in more of a, which would work, I think, better story-wise, Diana in a more leadership role, taking on the task at hand, and the kid then comes up to her and says something like, I want to be like you when I grow up. I think that would be a much better payoff. That would be a tearjerker for me.
And I totally get that. And I want to be clear, this scene doesn't work in the Joss Whedon version either. But it's just they make a very clear choice to make Wonder Woman very, very aggressive, and she absolutely saves lives here, but she ends the lives of all the terrorists in rather violent ways. So it's there's just a lot of contradictory choices in the Zack Snyder version. But
I like the way that Diana fights in that scene, though.
I'd absolutely agree with that. And like I said before, it feels like it's a movie that was made by the same filmmaker, and that's you got to be committed for that. That's the important thing. I'm glad he got to make his movie. It's still not my Justice League. Like, I'm interested in this Flash movie. I want to see more Ezra Miller. Do you have any affinity for Michael Keaton as Batman? Were you were you a boy growing up in the 90s?
I was not. This might surprise some people. I was not a boy growing up in the 90s. So the thing is, I was born in 96. Okay. So I'm a little late on the train, but all of my cousins are older.
Because I've seen Batman '89 like 600 times.
Right. And so while I am familiar with the Michael Keaton Batman, and I've seen some of it, like I really like it, but in my cinematic head, the first thing I think of with Batman is the Christopher Nolan.
I mean, the Dark Knight is absolutely a better movie. I'm not gonna argue that point. Right. I'm just gonna, that's just no, but it's the fact that we might see Michael Keaton back. We might even see Ben Affleck. He's been kind of shady as to whether or not he said yes or not. I like Ezra Miller. I
love Michael Keaton. I would be first in line to see a new movie with him. I mean, absolutely. It's
kind of a small part because it's a Flash movie, but
right. But I think just in that world, it would be so great because he just does it so well.
Do you did you like Shazam?
I did like Shazam
because I think Shazam is the best thing to come out of this universe. Like Shazam and the first Wonder Woman movie are fantastic.
Yes, they both are. And with that said, like, I still like Man of Steel. I still like Batman versus Superman because
I like Man of Steel. BVS is a trash fire. I like Man of Steel overall. It's everything up until the end of that fight in Smallville where they first come down and encounter Zod. It's fantastic, and then they just smash all my hopes and dreams for the next hour and a half.
I can see why. I can. But I am just, like you said, I am on the cinematic point of this. So I am just one of those people. I don't think Zack Snyder's filmmaking is perfect. I don't think any filmmaker's filmmaking is perfect. But I could watch. I like the desaturated grittiness of this universe, and that's just my personal taste.
If you compare this to Man of Steel, they look very different, but it's still very stylized, and it is like, excuse me, it has a dark, gritty feel, which I really dug compared to the whatever was going on in the theatrical version. Like, why was everything red in the finale? It makes no sense.
Hold on, can we pause for 2 seconds? Is that
sure? Go for it.
I think. Hello. Hey.
Okay. I'll keep talking while she's um I the color grade here, like, it makes a lot more sense. Like, it feels like one filmmaker made the movie, which I can't keep saying enough. It's and I'd probably say that it's the better version here. Um, so I'm also listening to her when I know she's back.
One of my mom's friends is coming by to pick up some furniture, and
Cool, no worries.
I
I
forgot.
kept
Total
talking.
theme for today.
I kept talking a little bit, but I kind of muted your sound. I might
Cool.
be able to go back through and cut that out. We'll see.
Okay, yeah. Sorry about that.
No worries.
So
yeah, I mean, and thanks for taking the time. Where can folks find you on the internet? I want to point them to this blog post you made probably months ago. Joss Whedon versus literally everyone else. Hold on.
Is that a good title? I thought it was good.
Yeah, it's
that was how we were feeling at the time.
Is it KathrynBurrell.com?
Yes. So I have a website. It's a whole portfolio for a bunch of my work, including my film blog, which I have lovingly called Popcorn Response for many years.
I like that.
So getting back more into that, and there is a article titled Joss Whedon versus literally everybody else up on that page if you want to know more about specifically the Marvel versus DC issue here with Justice League and those two brands. I'm also on Twitter at, what am I? Kathryn Kate Burr, I think is what it is.
Oh, let me see if I
use
can.
Twitter very much.
Oh.
But all my Instagram and my Twitter handles are linked on KathrynBurrell.com. So everything that I have to offer can be found there online.
I was trying to fill in the text, but it's going to become huge. So, thanks for taking the time. It's all good. I got to talk to myself. Yeah, and anything closing remarks you'd like to say?
Come on in. No, I am totally good. We've had a great conversation. Sorry. And I have really enjoyed this talk, and we got to do it again sometime.
Absolutely. We've been trying to do it for a while. We
have.
Yeah. So for all last year I was trying to become making podcasting or doing videos a regular thing again, and it just never happened. Like,
yes.
It's a lot of work. And
we'll come up with some kind of schedule, won't we?
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much, and have a great day, Katie. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye, Brandon.